Are you ready to start living a more confident, successful, and safe life, regardless of what's going on in the world or what has happened in your past? Then you're at the right place at the right time. The FemVincible podcast, where we bring you content and guests to help you focus on moving forward as the powerful you that you were truly meant to be. So welcome to FemVincible. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the FemVincible podcast. I'm Cranford Blackman, your host, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about something that can be really confusing and can mess with our heads a little bit, especially as survivors of violence. But, this can really apply to a lot of situations. And I want to talk about the difference in self-blame, blaming yourself for something, and being accountable. When, it's so easy for those of us who are violent survivors to look back and go, what was my part in this? Did I cause it? Did I make that happen? Well, in self-blame, think of it like this. If you're dealing with self-blame, what you're telling yourself is, I caused this. This is my fault. And when you tell yourself that, you're actually taking part in your own victimization. And the reason I say that is because when you blame yourself for something that wasn't your fault, that self beat up that happens lowers your self-esteem. It lowers your self-confidence. It lowers your self-respect because you feel guilt, even though it's something that you shouldn't have any guilt over whatsoever. And when you have that lower level of self-respect or that lower level of self-confidence, well, that's actually one of the things that predators look for when they're targeting people, deciding who they want to select as their victim. So as you can see, it is taking part in your own victimization by creating a situation within yourself that you don't need to have, that a predator might see as a sign that he wants to select you again, right? Because we know that re-victimization happens more often in people who have already been victimized. Well, I guess that makes sense. That's why it's called re-victimization. What I'm saying is attacks happen to people who have been attacked before more often. And so that self-blame can actually be a part of that because it takes away the powerful part of you that makes a predator see you and go, not them. I don't want to mess with her or him or that child or whoever. So, and again, this isn't something that you can affect in them, in a predator. It's just something that's happening within yourself. Okay. And I'm going to give some examples of this in a minute. But if we talk about accountability, now we're not saying, I'm accountable for this. It's my fault. That's not what we're saying. In accountability, we want to look at, did I play a part in this situation and how it came about and the way it went? Okay. And if I did, what was it? Now, that's not disempowering like self-blame is. That's actually empowering, because what you're looking at is going, not did I cause it, but in the situation as a whole, what choices did I make where I could have decreased the opportunity of that bad thing to happen, or I could have maybe avoided it altogether. And when you recognize those things, you can use them in the future when another situation comes up that's similar, or maybe it's very similar, so that you can make a different decision so that you have a different situation than you did the last time when things went bad. Okay, so let me give you a few examples. Let's take getting lung cancer. All right. So if someone gets lung cancer, They might be in some pretty big beat up because maybe they're a smoker. Okay. And it's easy to go, oh my gosh, I have lung cancer. This is my fault because I'm a smoker. I did this. I gave myself lung cancer, right? That's easy to see someone saying that, but that's not really accurate. That's self-blame, saying, I did this to myself. No, what happened is you had carcinogens in your body, and that allowed your body to create a cancer, should we say a cancer positive environment that made it more likely cancer would show up, right? Because we know that although smoking does increase the chance of getting lung cancer, not everyone who smokes gets lung cancer, right? So you can't say that because I smoked, I gave myself lung cancer. All right. So you can see how that's a self-beat up place, taking on the burden of something that's not accurate. No, let's look at the accountability part of it. The accountability part, remember, we're looking at, did I have a part in this situation? And if I did, what was it, so that I can use that in the future or use it to help my friends in a similar situation or my family members? So the accountability is, oh, I did choose to be a smoker for whatever reason it was. That doesn't matter. But if you can look at it and go, oh, I chose to smoke, that actually did create a environment in my body that made it more likely or more possible that I could get lung cancer. Okay, so there's accountability where you can go, oh, that means I should stop smoking now, or I should tell my kids or my friends, don't smoke. The difference in, I did this to me, and man, I made some choices that really put me at risk. Okay, do you see the difference in those two? Recognizing something you did that may have put you at risk gives you a powerful place now to change that. Beating yourself up about it as though you made the cancer happen, well, all that does is lowers your belief in yourself. It lowers your self-confidence. It lowers your self-respect, leaves you in self-beat up and blame. Okay, another example. Let's say that you got robbed on the street. All right, you're on the street. You're trying to think, did I have enough money for a cab? So you pulled out your wallet. You're looking in your wallet to see what you have, and you get robbed. The blame side, self-blame. I made this happen. I had my money out where everybody could see it. I wasn't paying attention. This is my fault. I caused it. Well, I'm going to call false on that. The crime happened because a person chose to rob you. Some guy or girl, some person saw that you had your money out, decided it would be an easy thing to take it from you, and they chose to do it, and they did it. So you did not make someone rob you. All right. The blame is not yours. The blame is with the criminal who decided to do the bad thing. Right? We talk about that all the time in like sexual abuse, sexual assault. You cannot make someone attack you. That person chooses to be an attacker. Okay. All right. So back to the getting robbed situation. So self-blame we see as bad. I caused this. I made this happen. It's my fault. Not true. The bad guy chose it. That's what's true. Now, what's the accountability part? When you look at it and go, what part did I play, if any, in creating a situation or an environment or getting into a situation or environment that made it more likely that I would be robbed? Okay, that we can work with. It's like, yeah, sure enough, I was out on the sidewalk. I was where everybody could see me, and I got my wallet out and I pulled my money out and I was counting it. And sure enough, everybody could see it. Okay. That probably wasn't a good idea for me. Did it make someone rob you? No. did it make it maybe a little more likely that if there was a criminal, a robber in your area, that he might decide to take action? Yeah, the situation was easier for a bad guy to decide to rob you than it would be if you had said, let me just go inside this store and count. Let me not do this right out here, or let me wait until I get into a cab to see how much I have. There are other options, which now, if you look at it in that accountability place, what was my part in the situation? You can ensure that that situation doesn't show up again. You can ensure that you have a wisdom teaching you can give to your children about it, to your sister, to your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your mom. Okay. So again, the crime was not your fault. There were some situations that might have made the crime easier to happen and might have given a robber an opportunity. Okay. But again, they chose to do it. All right. So you see, we can apply this to a whole lot of things. What happened? Am I to be blamed for it? Versus what part did I play, if any? And why do I say if any? Because there are some exceptions that I want to talk about now. Sometimes, and this, I want to make sure that you're really clear that there's no blame on you in this. Sometimes things happen that people blame themselves. Inaccurately, inappropriately, they should not blame themselves. But at the same time, there would have been zero accountability on that person for the situation. Okay, I mean, they happen. And a couple of the situations, let's say that you were sick and unconscious, and someone took advantage of you during that situation. Yeah, what's your accountability place? There's not one. You were sick. Your body needed to rest. You were unconscious. Somebody took advantage. That is no blame on you, right? You can't blame yourself for that. You can't even hold accountability in that situation. There was zero you could do. It's the same if, you're under medical care or, on prescription medications that can mess with your clarity of thinking or even how conscious you are of what's going on around you. If that's the case, what's your accountability? There is none. You're taking medicine as prescribed by a doctor to help you get better, and somebody took advantage of that. There is no blame for you there. There is no accountability that needs to be seen. A lot of times in burglaries, when a burglar comes into a house thinking it's empty, he's going to steal something. Turns out that there's a person in there. He sees them asleep and attacks them. So the burglary has now become something else. What was the accountability there? None. Someone broke into the home or to the building, the hotel, whatever it is, and did something horrible to a person that was asleep. There's no accountability there. There's no accountability that you should hold in that, or that person should hold in that. And the same goes in a situation like maybe where there's a boss or a teacher or instructor that ends up doing something with you, right? Is it your fault that you were manipulated into a bad situation or forced or coerced or threatened? No, it's not your fault. And do you have an accountability there? Not really. I mean, you decided to go to college and ended up in the class of someone who may have been a molester or a bad person. You're doing everything that you're supposed to. So as you can see, there are times when there's really no accountability to be had. Now, of course, in any of these, we can add extra stuff to go, maybe, if you're in the hotel and you only like to sleep with the door open in the hotel, you have an accountability challenge there, right? But what I mean is there are certain situations you just cannot look at yourself and hold yourself as at fault or even accountable for what happened. And the other big one, the other big exception here is if someone did something to you as a child, there there's no way a child can be held accountable for something an adult does to them. You know, we're talking about an adult mind confusing a child's mind, an adult body manipulating or scaring a child into doing something. There is never a time when something has happened to you as a child that you could be held accountable for that. Although many times those predators will try to turn that around and say, well, you were the one that was walking around in just a t-shirt at the age of what, 5? You know, that it doesn't make sense, but it is something that a predator could use against that target, that victim. And then throughout their life, they may be going, did I cause it? Did I know what I was doing? Was it my fault? And we really need to get that out of everybody's head. Anyone who was hurt as a child, anyone who was manipulated. I mean, and when I say child, I'm not just talking in single digit ages. This happens, you know, well into teens. And it's just so important for you to recognize that if those things happen to you or one of your friends or your spouse or just somebody important in your life, to recognize it was not their fault. And if it was you, it was not your fault. It is only the fault of the predator. Okay, so what do I want you to do with this information? I want you to take some time and look back at your life, the things that you may be carrying the burden of. What did I do? Why didn't I see this? Why did I let this happen? How did I cause this? And I want you to be objective. A lot of times we're subjective because we're looking at it from the confused mind of the person who is victimized, right? And that's exactly what a predator wants to happen. But I want you to look at those places where things happened to you, not things that you did. You know, if you decided to set somebody's car on fire and you went to jail, well, guess what? You're the reason you're in jail. You shouldn't set people's cars on fire. So I'm talking about when things have been done to you. I want you to look at those and ask yourself, was I in a place to be at blame? Chances are it's no. Were there things in the situation where I may have been able to skirt around that situation so it didn't happen to me, or may have been able to prevent it? Probably. And when you find those things, don't beat yourself up that, oh, why did I go to that bar? Oh, why did I get in the car with that guy I didn't know? Why did I? Why questions are unanswerable. Okay. And all they do is beat your brain up. You can't answer it. What's in the past that happened is in the past that happened. Don't look at why did I do that? Look and go, what was the situation? What could I do different if that situation ever comes up again? That's where you look at accountability and you find power for yourself to change a present situation so it doesn't come out like a previous situation did. Okay, that's not self beat up. That's saying, what can I do different? It's powerful. It's empowering. And it can go beyond the power in your own life because having had something happen, having seen some other opportunities that might have helped the situation, you can share those. But always, always, always remember that a person who does something bad to you did it because they chose to do it. You didn't make them. You didn't talk them into it. You didn't manipulate them into hurting you. They chose to do it. Okay. Don't own the blame for something that was done to you. Okay. Yeah, take a look at your life, see what's happened, review it, and recognize when something just that you're carrying the fault for wasn't yours. Let that go and let that release be a part of your own healing journey. Don't carry that weight. Let that weight go. Don't carry that darkness with you. And as you let those go, you can recognize, oh, I'm not a bad person. I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. I'm not at fault. I wasn't too much of a flirt. I wasn't too whatever. Let that be a confidence builder for yourself. You're worthy of safety. You're worthy of being cared for. You're worthy of respect and of your own self-respect. All right. And as you look at these things, I want you to remember to look at them for your friends too, because you know a lot of your friends are doing the same thing. Maybe your children are doing it. Maybe your siblings, maybe your coworkers, and you can see it. Share this with them. Don't let them go through life blaming themselves. And you can share it. They may still choose to blame themselves. But maybe the one thing they hear from you, understanding self-blame and the damage it does versus accountability that you can look at and use as a way to keep yourself safer in the future, are just two different things. Okay. All right. That's going to be it for today. I appreciate that you've shown up. And, if you want to leave a comment, I would love to hear maybe a success story, even after hearing this, of looking at something and going, wait, that wasn't my fault. And how it let some weight off your shoulders, whether it was something that happened to you as an adult or a teen or as a child. And remember, when you share stories like that in the comments, it may open up a world of difference for somebody who reads that comment that you don't even know, that you'll never know read it. So do share. We find a whole lot of power from each other when we hear and share each other's stories. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you so much. And I will see you next time on the FemVincible podcast with me, your host, Cranford Blackman. Take care. Bye-bye. This has been a production of LabCalf LLC and FemVincible.com.